Like, it isn't about just going somewhere and punching a clock and getting what somebody says you're worth. It's creating your own worth. And
Yeah.
you can do that by doing good work for people and by having the right attitude and the right and having some ambition.
Welcome to another episode of the Bridging Divides podcast, where we give you the advice, tools, and resources to help you build the bridge to success. I am super happy to bring our guest to you today, Jason Thacker, epoxy flooring extraordinaire. Super excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. Just this is really, really exciting. I've been watching the podcast, seeing what's going on, and I'm just like, I get the phone call. I'm like, really? Okay, yeah, I'll do that for sure.
Oh,
So,
dude, thank you.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
You have been one of the earliest people that have been watching what I've been putting out and commenting and liking and different things like that. So thank you very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
So Jason and I met through BNI, Business Networking International. So many of the people that I've had on here have been through BNI because the people that it attracts are the people that we want in our circle, in our community.
Right.
The whole giver's gain mentality that they have, and the building relationships and positivity and lifelong learning. Those are some of the core values. I can't remember the other ones, but just really attract those people. But so Jason was the president of the other chapter here in Queen Creek. And so we kind of, he kind of, when I visited, he kind of took me in, and we were able to talk. And so you and I, we have quite a few things in common, actually.
Yeah.
And I was reminded of it as I was reading the answers to the questions I sent you. I was like, oh my gosh, like I forgot that. For example, we were both in the Navy nuclear program.
Right. Yeah.
And what was your rate?
So I was a machinist mate.
You were an MM. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was an electrician's mate.
Yep.
And so, that's so cool. Where did you go to training?
Orlando.
You were in Orlando. See, I was in Goose Creek,
So,
South Carolina, the most like redneck.
well, that's where Prototype was. So when I went through, I was one of the last classes to go through Orlando.
Oh, so you did go to Goose Creek eventually.
That's where the Prototype was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Prototype. That's when you're on
So
the
they did
sub,
Power
right?
School and A School in Orlando.
See, and I did Power
then,
School and A School in Goose Creek, just in
Yeah.
the Naval Nuclear Power Training Command, the
Mm-hmm.
longest name.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, well, when I went through, so they did the A School and Power School in Orlando, and then you either went to Groton or you went to Goose Creek, one of those two.
Interesting.
And prior to that, I think you went to like Idaho, or no, it wasn't Groton, it was Ballston Spa, New York, is where it was.
Oh, okay.
Was the other one, but
Okay. Cool,
most
cool,
people
cool.
went to Goose Creek. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I thought that was super exciting. I also love that and we'll get into it here in a little bit, but I'll let you tell it. Let's hear a little bit of bragging from you. I know it's a little hard, but let's I want to hear. Yeah, I want them to see some of your accomplishments. Why don't
Okay,
Why don't you
yeah.
go into a couple of those?
Sure. So, I came from a very small town in Virginia, and, my path initially was to be an artist. I wanted to be an artist, and my uncle had done that. So I really pushed, and I found out that I had an artistic ability. So when I was in high school, I was sent through gifted and talented programs for art. Coming out of high school, I got scholarships to just about any art college I could have wanted to go to, and which was a great thing, coming from the type of situation I was coming from. Went to college for art, and I did it for about a year, and it just really wasn't for me. So that's when I enlisted in the Navy, and then. Going into the Navy, then they said, well, now we're going to make you a nuclear machinist mate. So I went from being an artist to like completely the opposite end of the spectrum.
I know, as you say, I had such a like huge contrast.
It is.
Which is funny because the Navy nukes are like the nerds of the military.
Yeah.
and it's funny because the machinist mates are like the coolest of the nerds. Which it's just kind of funny. But please go on.
Yeah. So went through nuclear power school, but one of my biggest, after I got out of the military, came out here, I worked for a company, and 3 years later started my first business. I was really proud of that. But the biggest accomplishment I had in that whole thing was sobriety. I quit, I realized that I had a problem with alcohol, and I've been sober for over 20 years.
Wow.
And it was a cold
Congrats.
turkey. Oh, thank you.
That
Thank you.
cold turkey too.
Yeah, just there was a ethereal moment in my life where I just said, I need to stop doing this. This isn't working for me anymore, and I stopped doing that. And that's actually the biggest of all of the accomplishments, because that's been like really what's led me to success in life, is being able to have that sort of self-discipline,
Yeah.
and recognizing that certain things are more important than other things. Other than that, I've been married for 16 years. My wife and I have been together for 20, and that's a huge accomplishment for anybody that's in a relationship.
Now, is it more of an accomplishment for you or for her?
I think it's a joint thing. I wouldn't be anything without her. She's been with me for everything from the beginning to the end, from the highs to the lows and all the bumps in the road. And, we've got 3 kids. Raising 3 kids right now, I feel like it's like juggling a chainsaw, a bowling ball, and a flaming torch all at the same time, really, And other than that, I'm a self-taught musician, play the guitar. I'm trying to learn how to play the mandolin right now, and you saw
my ukulele over there.
I saw your ukulele, so I was like, is that a mandolin or a ukulele?
Yeah, I love the uke. Oh man,
and I love your stuff too. That song you put up a while back was just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I gotta put up, and Kayla, I'll talk to you about this, but I think I want to put out more of my music just on my personal channel, and just to kind of have some fun. And
you did a podcast recently where somebody said something about fear, right? So so you said you're really kind of like, hey, look, you have no fear, right? And was it Susan Jeffers' book? Right? Yeah. So
that short. Yeah, we'll put a link to the short. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Is the book that she wrote. It's
Be fearless.
Yeah.
Be fearless.
And it's interesting too, because you feel fear no matter what it is that you do. And so it's like, would you rather feel the fear of not accomplishing your goals, or feel the fear that accompanies going after them?
Right.
I was like, interesting how, like, she was talking about the distinction of those two, and she's like, there's going to be fear no matter what.
Yeah.
But which one do you want? Which type of fear do you want?
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with regret. I feel 100%. Like, and I always tell my kids this, I go, the biggest regrets you're going to have aren't the things you did where you messed something up, because those are mistakes and you can learn from those. It's the things you didn't do.
Interesting.
Like my oldest son, I told my oldest son, I'm like, hey, that pretty girl at school that you like, ask her out. Just ask her out. See what happens. Like, maybe she says no. It might be a little embarrassing, but like, you'll never grow up wanting, what would have happened if I would have tried this, or if I had asked that girl out to the dance or whatever, And I've kind of lived my life that way, where just I've taken lots of risks, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, and when they don't, you turn those lemons into lemonade.
Yeah,
when you can.
That reminds me of a story. When I was in high school, I had a friend of mine. And he was like, hey, we should go to a movie, and he wanted to double date. And he didn't want to take me out on a date, which, whatever, that's fine. But he was like, hey, you should ask my sister. So I was like, okay, cool. What's her number? So he gives me her number, and I call her up, and I hear this voice, hello. I was like, oh, man. And I mean, I was like, what the heck? Did I get the wrong number? And I was like, hi, is this, we'll call her Alice. Don't want to throw her under the bus. And I was like, hey, is Alice there? And he's like, who is this? I was like, it's Mitch. And he's like, then I kind of hear some background and people talking. She's like, who is it? Who is on the phone? He's like, somebody named Mitch. So she answers. She's like, hello? And I was like, hey, this is Mitch. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. She's like, actually, I'm out with my boyfriend right now. And I was like, oh, cool. So you want to go to the movies on Friday? She said no.
Yeah.
And to this day, we are still happily married.
I'll be.
Not to each other. To other people.
Okay.
No, she married somebody else.
I there's a whole other part of that story that we missed there.
No,
like,
I never got a date with her.
Okay,
I never got a date with her. And so it just goes to show, when you win, you win. When you lose, you learn. And I learned,
right,
don't ask a girl out if she has a boyfriend. in front of her boyfriend.
That's pretty good advice right
Wait
there.
wait till he's gone, and then you can ask.
That's
her out.
soundbite stuff right there. That's like
Good life lesson for you guys there. No, but that's awesome. No, I love hearing that. Those are the principles that you instill in your kids, and
Right.
and honestly, that goes hand in hand with one of the building blocks of the program that I'm developing, the book that I'm writing, the Bridge Strategy, is reinforce and review. That's the last building block, which is you have to be able to go look back and recognize the mistakes that you've made. They're okay. It's good to be able to make those mistakes. You know, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying
That's
hard
right.
enough. You have to be able to realize and change the perception of what a mistake as a failure or a bad thing, as a negative. You need to look at it as a positive thing.
That's right.
You know, and I think that also goes in line with the first building block, which is blueprint. That's what we call it. It's all about the mental part of the game. That's where you start. That's how you lay out your plan and what are the limiting beliefs. That is a huge limiting belief that we have to overcome in order to succeed, is viewing mistakes as a negative thing.
Right.
They are very much a positive thing, and it's part of the process on the road to success, you know. So no, I love that. I think that's fantastic. So what is one thing that no one knows about you? I'm sorry, I'm reading your answer that you gave to the questionnaire I sent, and I was like, dude, I can totally see this. Please
So
share.
there was a point in my life where I was coming off of, I feel like, a midlife crisis, and I felt like I needed to check some boxes in my life that I had never, done. And so I started a Nirvana tribute band.
Heck yeah.
And
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
we didn't play that song because if you're a real Nirvana fan, you don't play that song, believe it or not.
Oh,
That's
I would imagine that's the most famous one.
right.
So,
So we were like the anti-Nirvana band. Like, we would play gigs and clubs, and we would play everything but the songs anybody had ever heard before.
The deep cuts.
Like all the deep cuts, like the
Hey.
B-sides and like the stuff nobody really heard of.
Yeah.
They'd go in there scratching their head like, I thought
is
we were
this
like...
Nirvana?
So we were like really like into that whole thing. And so I sang and I played guitar.
What
and
was the name of the band?
Bliss.
Bliss. Okay.
Tribute to Nirvana. So, yeah, and we did that for about a year, and then we found out that my wife had gotten pregnant with my second child, and I said, sorry, guys, I got to kind of hang it up. I got another kid on the way. Yeah, it was fun, though, and I'm so glad that I did that. That was one of those things where it needed to be done to check the box.
Heck yeah, no, I love that. Do you still keep up with your music?
I play, yeah. I still play. My middle son plays drums. He's been playing for about 3 years, and we're at the point where he's ready to start playing out. So we're going to start doing some open mics together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, let me know when you go, and
Yeah.
and we'll announce it for you guys. Any of the open mics.
Yeah.
We'll throw it up on our social media.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I would love that. So here's where I want to jump into the divide you're bridging.
Okay.
Right. So we'll talk about your business, because I want to. I want to show people, what it is that you do, how it is that you can help them. Which that in and of itself is a divide that you're bridging. You're providing a service for people that need something done, which I love. But we'll also get into kind of the soapbox topics, the personal mission that you have. But let's hear about your business. What is the divide that you are bridging with the business that you own? What's the name? What's the service that you offer, etc.?
So the company is Thacker Enterprises, LLC, and what we do is garage floor coatings. And they're concrete coatings for people who have garages. And what we're doing is, it's really a luxury item. I'll be very honest with you. What we do, it's not like, hey, like when your roof's caving in, you got to call a roofer, But it is something that people are really gravitating in, and it's a trending industry right now. There's a lot of people that are starting to come into it. I've been in the field for almost 10 years. And so, I got my experience working for another company that had been doing it since 1982.
Oh, geez, that's
Yeah,
Way back.
and they did everything for Fulton Homes. I was on a production
Oh,
basis
get out of
doing
here.
just garage floors like crazy. And, you know, I started my business 4.5 years ago. So we're licensed, we're bonded, insured,
Beautiful.
owner operated. So, you know, I look great today, but, you know, I most times look like I crawled out of a dumpster because I'm out there doing the work, and you know I get a little help sometimes from my wife or my son. You know they come out on the job site and help out, but a bulk of the work's done by me. And I really enjoy it. I love it. I love what I do.
That's
It is
awesome.
it's art, and you know it's really fun customizing things. I think there's a lot of companies that do what I do, and you know they walk in, they say, well, here's the 4 colors to pick from, and for me,
Interesting.
I'm more like a boutique when it comes to
Okay.
it. So
So it's like you're satisfying that artistic
right,
ability that you have
right. We do fun
through
things.
what
We
it
do
is that you're
glow
doing.
in the dark floors. We
What?
do glitter floors. If somebody says, "Hey, I want
Glitter
these
floor.
specific,"
I want a glitter floor.
they're beautiful.
That sounds amazing.
They're a little feminine,
Shine
but
bright like a
beautiful.
diamond.
Yeah. It's like a disco ball in there, but
Heck
you
yeah,
know,
dude.
but
I want to
but
glitter my entire house.
you could do that.
The
Yeah,
walls, all glitter.
yeah, you could do that. I mean,
He's like, sure, yeah, let's get it done. That's so funny. You pay me enough, I'll do it for you.
I just do like flat surfaces. So the vertical surfaces, I don't do that. I
I'll
don't do
call someone else
ladders
to do
either.
it.
I'm afraid of heights. So that's kind of a
So yeah, so you just stick to the floor.
La-
So it's good.
yeah, and I'm a little short, so like you know, if I fall down, it isn't much of a distance to get to the floor. You know, and if you spill, the cool thing about what I do too is like if you spill some paint, oh well, it's going to end up there anyway. So it's
Oh,
not
that's
like
so
it's
funny.
not a big
Yeah,
deal.
Hey, we're good to go. No, but that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think that that's super neat though that you can still kind of use your art in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
I would imagine that it gives you a competitive edge. You know, being able to do the quality and more of a custom
Right.
kind of project for people as opposed to here are the list of 4 things that I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can do one of these and that's it. You know, I think that that's really neat.
And I try to take a consultative approach with people. Sometimes people will say, okay, hey, I want to do, they'll look at the board and they'll say, hey, I want to do this color right here. It's like a brown. And I'll say, okay, do you have scorpions? Oh, we do have scorpions. Well, you know, that's going to blend in with the floor. Oh, I didn't think about that.
I like
So
that a lot.
I try to be really consultative when I ask people, like, what are you going to do in the space? Like, you know, maybe what you're looking at isn't the best fit for what you're going to be doing long term in here. You know, maybe you don't want to do a white floor. You're going to drive yourself crazy like cleaning it all the time, you know, things like that. So I try to bring that to the table with customers and be really forward thinking about like not just like just getting the sale right now and doing this floor, but I want to make sure that if I do this floor, you're really happy with it. And you look at it 6 months, a year from now, 3 years from now, and go, wow, that man, I'm just so glad we did that.
I love that.
You know?
And one of the building blocks of the number 4 of the bridge strategy is complete their bridge. So instead of going around looking for someone to complete your bridge, you're looking for something that somebody else needs,
Right.
you know, and then how can you give that to them? And I think that a big part of that is listening, you know, asking genuine questions to find out what it is that you need. So they might say, this is what I want. And you go, well, did you think about this?
Right.
Like, and they're like, oh no, I didn't. And so it's like at that point, you can really communicate to them that you genuinely have their best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And so you end up getting a sale anyway, you know?
Yeah.
But you're doing it in the best way so that you can get more referrals. You get less buyer's remorse. You get, you know, continued business
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. I mean, that's fantastic. And I love that approach. Because you're obviously the expert in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we're not. I mean, unless you're literally doing a job for an epoxy guy. But I think that that's great. I think that I love hearing that is part of your business principles. Is making sure that people are taken care of. So, epoxy floor, he's your guy.
Thank you.
So, excuse me. So, what is a mission that you're on? You know,
So
epoxy all the floors in the world, you know, or what is, you know, kind of who it is that you are, so we can kind of really get to know your principles.
it's a good question, and you know this leads me to another question people oftentimes ask me. They say, Jason, why did you name your company Thacker Enterprises? You're never going to be able to sell this business to somebody. Why didn't you come up with like ABC coatings or
whatever, blah blah blah.
purple orangutan grillings or something, whatever like that. And for me, it's building a legacy, and it's one of those things. I put my name on it, my signature. My goal is not to build a business to sell it to somebody else. I thoroughly and really passionately enjoy what I do right here.
Awesome.
I like it. I enjoy what I do, and I look at it, having 3 kids, I want it to be an inspiration to my kids. I want my kids to say, that's what my dad did for a living. Because anything can happen to us in life, right? I mean, we could be going along and then the lights go out tomorrow and your book is done, but the other people's books continue to be written. And as they're moving forward with their life, I always felt like I wanted them to be able to look back and have these memories of me. So one of the things is when I come home from work, I never complain about work. Awesome. Oh, this terrible customer, or oh, this job went sideways on me, or oh, it's so hot outside. I always walk in with a smile on my face. Awesome. Because I want to demonstrate to my children that work is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's not something you have to do. It's something that you want to do. It's something that is a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to go out and accomplish something and get that feeling of accomplishment and be productive for the day. And that's the example that I try to set, and we started this thing. I remember my oldest son, this was almost 5 years ago. I was sitting at the computer January 1st, 2019.
Oh, geez.
And
did you like...
yeah. And I woke up that morning and I said, okay. I said, so I'm going to go on I'm going to go on Corporation Commission, start an LLC. I said, come here, son. This is how you start a business.
How old was he at the time?
Oh boy, he was 10 years old.
Oh, cool.
I said, this is
old enough to understand.
And we were in a tight financial spot in our life. And I said, this is the rise of the Phoenix. I want you to watch what happens.
Cool.
As we move forward. And so I remind him of that all the time. Remember the rise of the Phoenix? Remember where we were and now where we're at, and now see where we're going and see how this is all, going. And it's about the meritocracy too, and showing.
I love that.
Showing the children that like the harder that you work and the more you put into something, that like it isn't about just going somewhere and punching a clock and getting what somebody says you're worth. It's creating your own worth. And you can do that by doing good work for people and by having the right attitude and the right and having some ambition. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that really kind of, I guess the first thing I'm trying to bridge is inside my own family. And I believe that spills over.
Absolutely.
I believe that's contagious. Anything that's done with the right intentions, it's positive. I've always said that good things don't always happen to good people, but the right things happen for people who do the right things. And so you continue to move forward and you continue to try to set the right example, not just for them, but the people around you too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, oh my gosh. Like everything that you're saying right now, I'm just like, okay. Yeah, we got the episode. This is it. Like this, yeah, we got. Wow. No, oh my gosh, like I love this. And one of the things I told my wife, which I've said on previous episodes, is, one of the benefits of doing this. I was like, babe, like I don't have to give our kids life advice and screw it up. I can have other people give good advice. She's like, please do more episodes.
Yeah, it takes a village, right?
She's, so we have a lot of fun, but. No, thank you. That's so cool, and I love the positivity that you bring to it, and being able to really appreciate the good. One of the things that we do in my family, and we started doing this a month or so back, is every dinner that we have, we all go around the table and we say, what was your favorite part of the day?
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
And I don't know why, and it's funny because I'm very, very impulsive. And I used to view this as a negative, but what I've realized now is that it can be a positive. If I'm impulsively kind, or if I have the idea of doing something good and then I just do it, then that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's a thought that popped into my head, so of course I did it. That's just kind of how I work. But it's been interesting to see how they will now remind me. If I forget, hey, we didn't do favorite thing of the day, And even my 3-year-old, I can't understand what she's saying, but she'll talk about it. I have 6 kids, so we've got 9 and down to newborn, everything in between. So I've got also my 2-year-old that, I can understand even less of what he's saying, but he'll still mumble through whatever it is that he's saying. It's just kind of interesting. And honestly, I don't even know if he understands what's going on, but he takes the time to say something. It's like, ooh, I get attention. 1 out of 6 kids, it's not very common that he gets that. So I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But yeah, so I love that, that principle. And again, I'm reminded why I wanted to ask you to come on, just because I love that principle. Hey guys, just want to take a quick break and say, if you guys are getting any value from this, if you guys are enjoying it, having a good time with us today, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Everybody says that, I know, but hey, can't beat them, join it. Just want to let you guys also know about our newsletter that we have coming out. It'll let you know about all the latest and greatest news that we've got, anything Bridging Divides related, all the events that we've got coming up, all of the different organizations, nonprofits out there that are doing awesome, amazing things that you can also be a part of. It'll also let you know about the book that I've got coming out, The Bridge Strategy. Super, super excited about that. And we'll let you know when that gets released. We'll also let you know about any additional nuggets of information and inspiration that we've got, different fun stories that we don't necessarily mention in these videos or episodes. So if that's something that interests you, then check it out in the description and we'll make you part of the Bridging Divides family. Excited to have you here. We'll get back into it. So kind of moving on down here. Might not get to all the questions that I sent you, but how have you viewed success and how to get there?
So, there was a point in time in my life where, and this has changed over time. I grew up in a poor family. My grandparents raised me in a 1-bedroom house.
Wow.
We had, from the time when I was 9 months old, and growing up, you'd see kids, they turn 16, their parents buy them a new car, and they got all the new clothes. Didn't quite always have those things in a very small town that I grew up in. And, success was kind of related to the material things, and you're searching for that. And, there was a time where I had that sales company, and there was a point in time in my life where I the money was great.
Yeah.
But I remember a point in time where I was sitting there, I was looking out the window, and I saw a truck drive by. And I said, I wonder where that truck's going. I wonder what's in the back of that truck. Where'd he come from? What does his day look like today?
Interesting.
And then the idea of success changed. And at that midpoint of my life where it was like, well, it's not about money, but it's more about contentment. It's more about being able to wake up in the morning and say, yes, I'm alive. I'm awake. Like, I can't wait to deal with what I need to do today. I'm going to go out, and no matter if the work's hard or whatever, you're going to get phone calls and all kinds of things are going to come at you, but you're not like in fear of like waking up.
Yeah.
And you find yourself in a position where like you want to stay up as late as possible because you don't want to go to sleep, because when you go to sleep, you're going to wake up and then you got to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And
so many of us feel that.
And you shift that to where you realize that success has nothing to do with like what you have in your bank account, but it has everything to do with like how you feel every day.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any of us are going to be laying on our deathbed someday and go, gosh, I wish I would have worked harder. Man, I wish I would have made more money.
I wish I would have made that one last sale.
Right. I wish I would have just spent time doing things that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is what success really is.
No, I think that beautiful. What's funny, so that kind of reminds me of a story. So my second oldest kid, he's 7. When he's about 4 or 5, he's playing in whatever room, I can't remember where it was, but we were in one room, he was in the other, and we hear this big crash, and we kind of wait. It's kind of silent afterwards. And we're just like, you okay? And he goes, well, I'm not dead. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so freaking funny. I want to put that on a shirt. Well, I'm not dead. It's so funny. It's like no matter what goes on, think of it this way. you could be dead.
Right.
Boom. Motivation right there, guys.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well,
You
you
know?
never use the word worst case scenario. I never say that phrase because believe me, there's always something worse, you know?
Yeah.
That's a terrible phrase to use.
Don't put that out in the universe. No, but I think that's awesome. So here's another question, kind of related to success. What have been some of the limiting beliefs that have kept you from succeeding, and how have you combated those beliefs?
So, you know, so we talked about my upbringing
Yeah.
and, you know, coming from a poor background, I was also vertically challenged. So I was the shortest kid in school. So, you know, when you're the shortest kid in school, everybody uses you as like their wrestling opponent, you know, when they're practicing their WWF moves. But you always became, I became,
Spin you around.
yeah, I became as little Jason Thacker, and those kind of
Oh
things wear
gosh.
you down.
Yeah.
Like as a person, you know, being told that you're smaller, being told that you're poor, being told that like you're not quite as good as everybody else, and you know, those kind of things really eroded my confidence early on. And, you know, once I kind of got out of that geographical situation and out into the real world on my own, it took a lot of time to be able to rebuild my confidence.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was a time where, you know, I had built this first company that I had. And when I left that company, people were saying, well, you were only successful because of somebody else.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, you were the only reason why you were successful is because this other person had done this or somebody else had done that. And again, it was kind of like these weights, like, you know, and you second guess yourself,
Yeah.
you know. And there was a turning point where I said, okay, well, you know, I have to believe in myself. You know, I have to believe that, like, you know, none of this is by accident.
Yeah.
This isn't all just a fluke. Like all of these things that I've done and everything, sure, I've gotten some help along the way.
But you still took action.
I woke up every morning and I made it happen, you know? And those are the I guess those were things I really had to overcome, but confidence was a real big one. You know, and that goes hand in hand with fear, like we were talking about, and regret and all of those kind of things. But it's believing in yourself. You have to believe that, you know, you can do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't work out, oh well, that's okay.
And that's interesting too, because what I've felt in my own life is you know, I've got these negative voices in my head, right? That keep me from doing something, right? Oh, you're not going to be good enough, or oh, why are you trying to do this? You're not like that other guy or that other person or whatever. And you know, I've had pretty much everybody on that I've interviewed as they have, you know, more money than I do, or some sort of metric of success that I see. And I'm like, man, like that's what I'm aspiring to, you know. And but what's funny too is that now as I'm getting going and I've had different opportunities that have come along that I've taken advantage of, and I still have that voice in my head that goes, oh no, you this was just a fluke. This was just luck. This was just whatever. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've got negativity going on either side. And I'm like, how do I, you know, how do I find a way to get rid of that? When does that go away? And I don't know if I have a concise answer that I can give right now. So if you guys have an answer to that, you know, how do you cross that line? Please put that in the comments below, because I would love to know. But I think that, yeah, that action that you talked about, you know, nothing in life is a fluke. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you might have been lucky to meet the right person, or, oh, you just know the right person. It's like, yeah, but you have spent your time and your effort going out to meet the right people.
Right.
You know, someone gives you a job opportunity, you could say no.
And you can add persistence to that.
Absolutely.
You know,
Oh,
persistence
gosh, yeah.
and preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that that little addendum, if you will.
Right.
Because yeah, sometimes the first answer can be no, and the second, and the third. You know, but are you willing to put in the effort, the persistence to keep going at it? Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So what? And this one of my favorite questions I like is, what have been some of the strengths that you see that you have now that you used to view as weaknesses?
Yeah. So, um, when the reason I left the military, I got into a car accident, and because of that car accident, I lost the hearing in my right ear.
Mm.
It was permanent hearing damage, unfixable, and so I left the Navy because of that. I wasn't
Yeah.
able to continue my time in the military. And when I came to Arizona, it was really on a whim. And my job that I got out here was in telemarketing. I was selling tools over the phone to contractors. And the job itself was this big, huge room with people screaming and yelling, and there's music blaring in the background. It was just this wild, crazy environment. But being deaf in this ear, I would put the phone up to my ear and I couldn't hear anything but the customer.
That is so funny.
And I could hear them breathing. I could read their thoughts. And I was so tuned into like what was going on. And that was a powerful strength because I wasn't distracted by anything else. And it allowed me mentally to be able to really focus in. And just being deaf in one ear through my life, I have to pay attention. I have to look at people when I talk to them.
Interesting.
And I have to read their lips. And I have to really be in tune with a conversation. I can't just kind of be there. I have to really be in tune with what's going on. And when I'm in tune with somebody, I'm really paying attention. I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm understanding, and I think that's turned into a really big strength for me, having to overcome that physical handicap.
Yeah.
I don't like to call it a handicap, but it's kind of what it is.
Well, it's like it's something that you weren't expecting, that has impacted your life in a physical way.
Right.
But see, that's so fascinating. I love that you brought that up because that is not what I would have in my mind as something that you could turn into a strength.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why I love the perspective that you bring to that, because it literally resulted in you being able to do your job better.
Right.
Not that I would go recommend that people put
please
make one ear deaf.
don't do
but,
that. That's not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Put an earplug in. No, but that is fascinating though that you also relate it to being able to be more attentive to people, and so I love your positive outlook. So let's moving right along here. How has being authentic helped you be uniquely successful?
So, I read a book a long time ago. I can't remember what it was, but there was a phrase in there. It said, "People do business with people they like." Okay, number one, right? So the way I look at it is the people that I work with, I put myself out on the table for people. This is who I am.
Yeah.
I show up in a 2006 Chevy Silverado pickup truck that I've had for 17 years. It's got paint all over the side of it. I go, look, I'm a no debt guy. That's who I am.
Love it.
This is who I am. I'm not smoke and mirrors guy here.
Yeah.
This is the way I do it. I'm the person that does the work.
You put on this false persona of
I'm a real person. I'm not here to just sell you a product and get a commission and then, get my check. It's more personal for me.
Yeah.
And one of the big things I do with people when I finish a project, I have a mantra. I always tell everybody, I go, okay, so look, if you ever have a question or a problem, you're not sure about something doesn't look right, I want you to call me, okay? I don't want you to ever say, oh, I don't want to bother Jason with that. I want you to bother me.
Yeah.
I want you to call me. I want you to text me. If you're not sure, it's never an inconvenience for me. Please reach out to me. And I tell people, your floor is my advertisement piece, okay? The thing I don't want to have happen is we do this and then something's messed up about it. Well, your friends and neighbors are going to come over and see that a year from now, 2 years from now.
I see.
And they're going to say, I don't want that guy's number. Like, I want, as much as you want a good product, I want you to have a good product.
I love that.
Because that's how we all win.
Oh my gosh, man. Seriously. I love all of the words coming out of your mouth.
Thank you.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's, our tagline or whatever, our slogan, whatever you want to call it, is it's not just business, it's all personal.
Right.
And I love that is what you've incorporated into your business model and the way you do life in general. And I'm a firm believer that any good business practice, any good business principle applies to any area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with being able to stand behind what you do and having that integrity in your life bleeds over into your business where you have
Mm-hmm.
that personal integrity. But then also you look at it from the benefit side as that is what is resulting in you being able to get more customers and more, you're adding more value
Mm-hmm.
to people. You're completing their bridge, right?
Right.
And really, really making sure that they are confident in what it is that you're doing for them. I love that. I think that that's fantastic. So we're about out of time here, so I kind of want to go through a couple of things here. For somebody that is starting a business, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Make sure, number one, that you understand the type of business that you're getting into. And there's two types of business owners. You have people who are doing it because they see it as a great opportunity to make money and eventually sell that business
Mm-hmm.
someday.
Which is great,
And then you
but
have other people that look at it, and I feel like I'm on the other side of the
mm-hmm.
spectrum, a person who is starting a business because I enjoy it, and this is what I'm spending my time doing.
Mm,
And I figure, if you're going to do something, you might as well do something that you like, right? So if you're on the end of the things,
agreed.
and maybe you're a contractor and you're in a trade right now, and you're saying, okay, I want to do this for myself, okay? Make sure you have a good plan about how you're going to do it. And the big thing I would tell people to do is network. Get
Ooh,
out there
yeah.
and meet people because success rarely happens on your own. Success is not something that just you plow and you did it all by yourself. You're just going to be helping hands along the way. And if you get out there and network with people that are doing not just what you're doing, but in other lines of work,
Yeah.
those people become great resources, great allies. And the truth is, especially if you're in that situation, you're going to be dealing with lots of business challenges. You may come home and tell your wife or your friends about this. They're not going to understand. It's a totally different language to
Yeah.
them.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have other people around you that are in business as well,
Interesting.
where you
Yeah.
can talk and then they can say, "Hey, well, I've dealt with this or I've been there."
It's the community that you
Right.
surround yourself with. Yeah, I
Right,
like
because
that.
you are a product of the people you spend the most time with. And of course, if you're on the other end of the entrepreneurial end of it, and your idea and agenda is to build a business that you're going to sell, then if you're in that situation, then you need to hire the right people
Yeah.
to do those jobs for you. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I have less probably advice for somebody in that situation, only because it's never really been my agenda is
No,
to be that
but
person.
honestly, that advice that you just gave is beautiful. I love networking. I am
Hmm.
energized when I get into a group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen when I've come to your
Yeah.
your networking chapter, and I love to get out there and to meet new people and make people smile and make people feel good. And that's the performer in me, right? And I kind of get that opportunity to do that kind of through networking as well. But um, it's interesting though when you surround yourself with those like-minded people, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of the like that you don't get people that don't tell you where you're going wrong. Because I don't actually think that that's beneficial to surround yourself with just yes men
Right.
or yes people, we'll say,
And that's
to
what
be
you get
more
with like
politically correct.
family and friends. They're
Oh,
gonna
it's so
they're
good.
gonna
And
empathize with you, and if
that's
you
cool,
if you're
but
leaning it towards a negative thing, then they're gonna drive in there and say it's a negative thing. If you're leaning it, and maybe they're gonna be cheerleaders, but they're not so much gonna be the people that are gonna give you, hey, let me share with you what I went through,
mm-hmm.
and I dealt with that in this situation. This is how it turned out for
And this
me.
is how I overcame.
That's value.
Like that's awesome because you got to find someone that's going to tell you when you suck.
Right.
You really do.
Yep.
But the point is not to get the people that just are just negative people, but specifically people that will tell you, "Hey, this is where you're going wrong and here's a solution."
Right.
And that's what I have loved about networking is being able to find those people that's like, "Hey, you got to watch out for this," or "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing this wrong." And here's what I've done to do that. And so networking I can see a direct correlation with my growth
Mm-hmm.
versus when I didn't have a network. I mean, look, what I'm doing now. I mean,
Yeah.
I've shared with you guys. I've tried this, years ago, 5 years ago, I tried to start doing this, and I didn't know anybody. And so I didn't even know what questions to ask for different, problems that would come up, because I'd never come across it before. And so being able to surround yourself with those people that are kind of in the same industry, maybe not even necessarily the same industry, but are that business-minded people, can give you different ideas. I think that's fantastic. So just to finish up here, one of my favorite things is books. I love books. I try to listen to at least a couple of self-development books a week, and I don't just listen to. It's funny because on my Audible you'll see self-development, and then you'll see fantasy. I love fantasy, dragons and spells and elves and all that other cool crap. But I want to hear about what is a book that. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's thousands of them that have amazing things, but what is one that comes to your mind that has been really instrumental in your mindset and your success?
That is a easy question for me because it was a game changer. It's Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers.
I've heard of that one.
So it was twofold for me. I was working for the company, the coatings company, and I'd been there about 4 years, and they'd said, we want you to run it like you run your own company, and they'd put me in a management position.
Well, that's cool.
And, and it was nice and everything. It was comfortable. And I read that book, and it was a confidence thing. I was still battling with, have I been doing this long enough? Because the owner told me, he said, Jason, we know you can start your own business. I'm like, they believed it before I did, right? They saw it before me.
I love that they did that, though. Oh, my gosh. You don't find that very often.
And they said, well, we want to put you in this position. Run this like you'd run your own business. I'm like, okay. But I read this book, and one of the things there's two things in the book. And the one thing in the book was 10,000 hours. Yeah. They said, if you do something for 10,000 hours, you're at the point where you're very proficient at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it talks about people like Bill Gates, and talks about the Beatles. Like the Beatles would go and they played this bar in Germany from midnight till 6 a.m. every night. And that's how they built up their skill, right? And
oh my gosh, they have literally thousands of songs.
And they were so tight as a band, but they got that ability to put 10,000 hours into it. So I was sitting there and I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, I've been working here for 4 years and I've been working on this many. I'm at 10,000 hours. I'm like, maybe I am ready to do this. Maybe I am ready. And then the second thing that it talked about in the book, that was enough to push me to say, time to get my license, time to
kind of give you the confidence.
Right, that was the confidence, right? And the second thing it talked about was what we just talked about is people are very rarely successful on their own. People get help somewhere along the way.
Somewhere.
And a friend of mine, as soon as I started the business, his name's Jared, and he said, Jason, you've got this business. I want you to meet some people. And he invited me to his networking group.
Yeah.
And I went in there and I said, okay. And I was really turned off. I was like, I don't know if I need this. But then I went in and I saw all these people that were just so positive, and everybody's very supportive, and everybody's referring, and there's a lot of business that's going on, and it attracted me. And that's when I clicked back to the book. Yeah, this is the help that I need.
Yeah. I'm
not going to do that. I had no real plan. I started this business. I'm like, well, how am I going to get business? I don't know. I'm going to advertise. How am I going to do that? I don't know. I just know that I'm going to start a business, and you've got this blind kind of thing. But that book, number one, gave me the confidence to do what I'm doing. And number two, it kind of gave me the goalpost, or kind of like the end zone. You want to start this. Okay, you're there. Now you need to take the next step and find people to help you be successful.
Yeah.
And that book is just amazing. I love that book.
I love that. No, it is definitely on my list of books that I want to read. It's in my Audible library. So I don't have to read anymore. I just listen to it.
Spoiler alert! I think I just spoiled the whole book for you, but there's still a lot of good stuff in there.
And I love hearing about new books, and that's why it's one of my questions. But to wrap everything up, one of the things that I really want to focus on with every episode that we do is that any success that we have, anybody that is successful that you see. You don't see all of the junk that they've gone through before to get there, all the trials and the struggles and everything that have made them into the superheroes that we see, right? We see this huge success, and we see the guy flying around in a cape, and we're just like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. So I really want to highlight to people that, hey, like, just because you're going through what you're going through doesn't mean that you won't be successful. Here are these other successful people that have been able to get through it. We call this our positivity prize fighter segment, because positivity isn't about just sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and however cool they might be. But it's about when life punches you in the face, knocks you on your butt, are you going to get back up and you're going to keep fighting? The Rocky quote?
Yeah.
It's not
It's
about
not how hard you get hit, how you come back from it or whatever.
I love that. And that's exactly what the principle behind this is. So what's a time in your life where life has just punched you in the face, maybe repeatedly, and you're on the ground and you got back up because you believed that it was worth fighting still?
It's happened a lot, and so for me, so I had that tool business, and I call it the voice, and so I'm sitting in my office, the truck's driving by, and a voice said, "Leave," and I was making so much money, and I was doing so well, but something inside me told me to leave, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, I just up and walked out the door.
Wow.
And it was my breakdown. And from that point, everything declined. We lost everything. We lost our house. We lost all of our money. We maxed out our credit cards. We filed bankruptcy. We ended up on public assistance. And, I had gotten another job, and I was working at this place doing debt settlement. And at the
Such
same
a fun job, I bet.
well, I'm giving people debt advice, right? And I'm like bankrupt. So it didn't really make a lot of sense, but that's where I was, right? So there was, we had started painting furniture on the side to make some extra money. Like we would buy furniture at yard sales and I'd sand it and paint it and then we would sell it on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was working at this place and, really stressed out. Like we weren't making it financially and I had to do a certain number of deals to get my commission and I fell short and I was on my car and I'm breaking down like, Lord, I'm like, please just help me find the words and make this work,
Yeah.
Went back to work and it got worse and worse and worse. And I said, okay, that's the answer. I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Interesting.
I'm supposed to be painting furniture, right? So I quit my job and I go paint furniture. Didn't really work out, but it was enough for me to realize that's what I wanted to do. And so then I went and I got the job with the coatings company. At 35 years old, they started me at $10 an hour with 3 kids, and my wife had just lost her job.
Jeez.
And that was where we had the conversation. Look, if we're going to be broke the rest of our life, we might as well do something that we like. So, of course, we talked about how everything transitioned, and I worked through that. I ran that place like I ran my own company from day one, making $10 an hour, and I was actually in a business owner mindset from day one. So I went to my boss at that 4-year mark, and I said, you know what? I appreciate everything, but I'm going to get my license. I'm mailing it out. Can I have your well wishes for that? Absolutely, Jason. So here's the craziest thing was that very evening, I went to the company softball game. I'm warming up and I tore my calf muscle. I couldn't walk, like popped. So for 2 weeks, I couldn't walk. Jeez. So I'm sitting at home and I built my website and I turned on my Facebook and I did all of this stuff, right? My kids are at school. My wife was away. Like I'm sitting there with my leg propped up and I'm doing all the things I need to do. By the time I could walk again, then my friend Jared says, come check out this networking thing. By the time I could walk again, I had work coming in like crazy.
That's awesome.
So like everything kind of like kept hitting me, like
you were literally on your butt.
Yeah. And you
couldn't freaking walk.
Well, there was a point in time too where I had a dream in the middle of all of this, and like I was walking through like this really like black and white and gray world with like tortoises and like lily pads and things like that, and a voice said, "You're not done."
Crazy.
And that was when I read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. That voice said, "You're not done." That voice, I listened to it. That voice said, "Leave." That voice said, "You're not done." And all these things that had happened all along the way were leading me to where I needed to be.
I love that.
And just don't, and just listen to the voice, because the voice knows. Not your voice. Your voice says don't. It's not going to work out. Don't listen to that guy. Listen to the voice that really guides you, and follow your heart.
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. Jason, this has just been absolutely incredible. I have loved this entire conversation. It has been so, so good.
I appreciate the opportunity to tell my story. I just
Thank you.
It's if somebody watches this and they say, "Wow, I can relate with that." That's awesome. I love that.
No, and honestly, that's why I wanted you on, and I love the advice that you've been able to give and the stories that you shared. And so again, thank you so much for being on. And for you guys, listen, if you feel like you don't know who you need to know to be successful, go out and get to know them. And one of the most important things that I learned from this is pay attention to that voice inside you that is telling you where you should go next, what it is that you should do. Don't listen to that negative voice that's telling you can't do anything, because you can. You are uniquely amazing, and have been designed in a way that will make the world a better place in your own way. So listen to that voice that's telling you how to do that. I love you guys. Remember, it's not just business, it's all personal. We'll see you next time.
Here.